All right, guys. So let's talk about online module 3 today, where we are keeping on with this idea of looping and combining it with the delay stuff we talked about before. You might have remembered briefly they talked about this idea of a digital looper in the reading. Sorry, shouldn't have done that. But we're going to take that concept and use it with Max and do something really interesting, I think. And this is a concept that was first pioneered, not necessarily invented, by the same guy that wrote the piece you did last week. So let's look at this. What we're supposed to do here. This is a discussion board. This will be due on Sunday at the end of the week. So there's a couple steps here. First thing you need to do is you need to read the time lag reading excerpts document that's right below this. And then for fun, you're going to watch these links. This is an interview with Terry Riley about the tape machine and his work with it. Now, the guitarist Robert Fripp, I don't know if any of you guys have heard of him, but he comes into play in this sort of lineage of looping, playing along with yourself. Him and Brian Eno kind of appropriated this technique, not maliciously, of course, and they renamed it Frippertronics. But it's really the same thing, this idea of taking two tape machines and setting them up for a very long delay, which repeats. So watch that, kind of dig in here, have some fun with this. And like I say here, I don't know why the Germans are just really into this, the history of this and everything. The Germans do make Ableton Live too, so that might have something to do with their fascination. So after you watch those movies and you read the article, you're going to move on to work with this Max Patch. So let me talk about this. I'll show you the readings just real quickly. There's a patch in the module, and what you're going to do is you're going to create and record your own looped performance. You can just use claps and percussion sounds along with some talking or singing. If you have an interface, you can plug your instrument into that and play that into the looper. I'll play you an example I did where I did some claps and actually played my saxophone. I'll go over that. Sounds more complicated than it is once you see the Max Patch. And yeah, you're going to need to record a performance of that, at least a minute. You'll find with this looping stuff, 1 minute is nothing in loop-based music, especially with the time lag accumulator technique. I had something years ago I used. It was called Line 6, a company called Line 6. And we called it the Green Box. You've all seen looper pedals, I'm sure. This is the history of the looper pedal, basically, and learning how to work with that. So that's the guide or the rubric for that. Let's go back, and real quick, I'll just show you here are the readings. This is somewhat common knowledge, but these are taken from someone that had put all this in one place. A neat little website. It's fairly old, actually. It's an older website. I just copied a bunch of this stuff, put some pictures in. You can read about Terry Riley and then our buddies Fripp and Eno, Brian Eno and Robert Fripp. Did a lot to popularize this technique, bring it into the world of rock in the 70s. And then at the bottom of this, I attached a picture. You can see how this works, and some people still like to do this. When you watch the videos, you'll see it's kind of the new cool thing to go out and buy two Revox A77 tape machines, which is what they used back in the day, and set up one of these. And this is really the system here, where you have your input, it gets recorded on the tape, and then it travels along the tape and gets replayed on this second machine here. Now, as it's replaying, it's the output of this machine is going in and it's getting re-recorded on this tape head here. So it keeps that sound continually repeating over and over again. Now, in an analog system, as you remember, there's some signal degradation. So what's sort of built in to these early Revox systems are the time lag accumulator tape-based systems is that eventually the signal you've recorded degrades, and so it sort of fades away. As you're doing this, you can layer other parts on top of that. on top of your loop. Now, the length of your loop, believe it or not, is determined by how far apart the tape machines are. Literally, how long the distances that the tape has to travel is how long your loop is. In the max patch, you're going to be able to set that duration. You can do 2 seconds, you can do 10 seconds, etc. But this is a really interesting system here. How they originally set this up. It's fairly ingenious, and a lot of the musical culture that we have now it's all based around this idea of looping. So pretty neat stuff, I think. Read up on that, watch the videos, and then you can dig in and get more experiential with this max patch here. So you see, I don't even have the discussion board posted yet. We'll get that up soon. So here it is. I've already downloaded mine. So I put this together for you guys. You could certainly expand on this concept. Anyone could. I didn't want to add too much more than this because I feel like this is complicated enough, especially for those of us that aren't familiar with Max. Okay, so I've annotated this. This is our delay time in milliseconds. So 2000, it's set. It defaults to 2000 when you open it up. You can change that if you want. There's a load bang here. This will load up to 0.97 is the amount of feedback. And you remember in these systems, going up to 1, it's a bad idea because ultimately it'll build up and overload. 0.97, your signal will repeat for a fairly long time, but it will degrade. It will fade away ultimately. It takes a while. Now, once again, you can change that too. If you want the feedback, if you want the signal, your riff or whatever little pattern you want looped, if you want that to not last for as long, you could make this number lower. If you wanted to go for uber ambient stuff and just have a signal repeat for a very long time, you could go up to, let's say, 0.99. But 0.1 would be a bad idea. This is a kill switch here. If things get out of control, just hit this, and after one iteration, it'll just die down completely. Over here is our delay loop, and you can see these parameters are going right in there. I've not included a filter here as this regenerates. This is sort of a pure digital loop, but I think that makes more sense with these systems. That's really a matter of taste. Okay, up here is the input, and as you can see, I put a little level there so you can just make sure that you're actually getting there's the loop. This is going to be difficult for me to totally demo this because the potential for feedback is pretty high when your playback speakers are right by your recording mic. Okay, now I mentioned this in the rubric, but I think I should talk about this again. Now, if you want to change this, right now this is just set to record. Here, let's set that so it doesn't do that. Right now, this is just set to record from the built-in microphone in the in your computer. Okay, and that's fine. In fact, I'll play a demo for you. And what I did, I highly recommend doing this if you just want to see how this works, is just get some headphones, plug those into your output of your computer, so you're hearing the delays only in the cans, and then the mic is picking up only the acoustical sounds. It's not picking up those delays, so you don't get any feedback buildup. That's a real fun way to do it. Just put on some headphones and make it so there's no output from your computer whatsoever to the outside world. That's how I would recommend it. So use headphones for your output. Your input, however, you can change this up. Max is great for this. Right now, it's set by default to accept audio input from your built-in microphone. However, by using the options drop-down menu and selecting audio status, I'll show you where all this is, you can choose the input for this patch. So if you have an interface plugged in, and I don't have my interface with me, it was in storage anyways in Philadelphia, and as we were leaving Philadelphia for rural southern Indiana, where I am now, we didn't really take time to stop at our storage space and pick up my interface. However, if I had my interface and it was plugged in, and I had the driver and everything, Max is really good about locating this stuff. So watch, I can just go up here to options, audio status, and then look where it says input. Let's say I had my Motu plugged in, or my Focusrite Scarlett. That would show up there, and then I could literally just plug a microphone into that, or better yet, plug like my bass, or a nice pickup mic, a higher quality mic, a pickup mic for my saxophone, or some cool keyboard I have. I could plug that in, and then the input, also output here. You might find you'll have to do headphones. It depends on what kind of machine you have, but this is where all the routing is done. Anyway, so you could basically just have a pedal. Really, this would just be like a looper pedal for your instrument. If you want to do your guitar into that, you could just spend, honestly, you could spend the next 2 days just with your headphones on. Okay, so that's how you would route all that. Well, once again, just to get this done, you can have a great time and do some really great stuff. Just you put headphones on, just use the default built-in mic on your laptop, and just do some claps and some snaps, maybe some spoons, and sing some long tones. It's real fun. I know you have to share this, but it's a great time. There's nothing better than some headphones and a looping pedal. Over here, this is not required stuff at all to use. This is default set for bypass of this filter. But what this is, I am using a filter in this system, but it's actually a filter that processes the sound before it hits the delay loop. So right now I have it set just to let everything through, but I've got a low pass filter. So if you wanted to filter some stuff, roll off some upper harmonics to kind of give it more of a dulled kind of sound, you could certainly do some neat stuff if you switched over to high pass filter and set it there. Also, I've set it up so you can modulate. Once again, you don't have to use this, but if you want to get deep into this, this is kind of the next step, is to process the sounds before they go into the looper machine, whatever. So now what you can see, I turned this on, and it's going very slowly because of the way that we hear sound, but I'm modulating the cutoff point of this high pass filter here, so it's going to go down. So you'll get a really neat dynamic change of timbre as your sounds are going into the looper pedal. Don't have to use this, once again. If you just set this to low pass and turn the bypass on, you'll just completely not use the filter at all. And that's fine. This is just if you want to go for the next step here. Also, one of you asked me about this. This is kind of the beginning of using Max to build your own effects units. And really, it's all about just using the options and selecting your input. And then once you got that signal into Max, you can do anything you want to it. Okay, so that's that. Obviously, there's this record here, so you would start your recording and then start your sound. And here, let me see if you can play on. Oh no, those speakers are. So here's what I did. We'll just listen to it for a minute. Let's see. Yeah, it is coming out of those. So I recommend, to get the length of your loop, is just start with a single clap or a rhythm. So I experiment around with that, but you can see I kind of build things up a little bit here. Doesn't that sound like fun? Okay, cool. So that's what you'll be doing then. You'll export that as a WAV file. Mine's 5 minutes long. You don't have to do 5 minutes. You certainly can if you want to. I'm just requiring a minute, but honestly, with this stuff, you'll get probably 2 or 3 sounds layered in, and you'll be at a minute. So have fun with that. Be sure to do some good comments. Describe your project well. Great. Okay, I hope you guys enjoy that, and we will be in touch. I'll see you on Thursday. We'll have a check-in in the afternoon. And if there's any questions in between then and now or after that, of course, let me know. It's hard to believe we're closing in on the end here, but we are. Great. Thanks, guys. Hope you're doing well.